guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Stephanie and today I'm going to talk to you about my March TBR and what I read this month, which I believe was about 10 books. So that was definitely a lot better than January and February, which were very quite disappointing, to say the least. Sorry, I wrote what I read down just so I wouldn't forget. So I'm going to start from the beginning. Okay. So let's show you the first book that I read, and it is Wayward by Amelia Hart. And I did a little reading vlog about this to get my physical TBR books off my list, and this is one that I read. I gave this a 5-star. I'm not really going to go into depth with this because I went into depth with it in that reading vlog. So yeah, not gonna go into it too much, but it's pretty much about witches and following different timelines, but it is in the same like bloodline. So it is a very interesting, very deep book. Does have some trigger warnings. I do list them for the most part as I read them, like as I see them, because it does not tell you the trigger warnings you know, in the beginning of the book. So just so you are aware, yes, but I really loved it despite that, and it was a great time. It was a great read. I really enjoyed it. I'm so glad I finally got it off my TBR because I was attempting to read it so many times but I never finished, but I finished, so I feel accomplished and I feel great about that. So the next book, Bride by Ali Hazelwood. Oh, this was a 5-star read. As always, she just knocked it out of the park. I enjoyed this so much. I enjoyed the vampires and the werewolves. I enjoyed their world. I enjoyed Misery and Lo. It was a fun time. It was a fun time. There was some silly things in there. If anybody knows The Knot, I will never ever think about that word ever again the same way. So yes, if you've read it, you know what I'm talking about, but other than that, I cannot say more because that just is, it's gonna reveal too much, so I cannot. But so pretty much this is starting with a wedding between Misery Lark and Lo, who is the alpha in his pack. And so in order to bring the two worlds together, kind of, she's forced to marry the alpha wolf. So she does, and then we also get like an element of like kind of like a mystery because her best friend, who is a human, goes missing. Now they do all coincide and live together in this world to their own selves. They're not really intermingling, but yeah, just so happen to, in order to bring the vampires and the werewolves together, you know, this wedding happens. And as we continue to go through this story of unraveling what happened to her friend, maybe sorting through her feelings of how she feels for Lo, it was just, it was a fun time. And I cannot believe that she made a fantasy book. I never thought she was gonna like venture off into fantasy from her STEM science books, and I'm hoping there's a second book. If she does, sign me up. I will read it. Honestly, I will read anything that she writes. So I'm excited to see what more is to come. A 5-star recommend if you are into that. On to the third book. I actually don't have the physical copy, so I'll just put it here. But it is called All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata, and oh my gosh, it was so good. All right, so in this book we are following Aurora, and she's leaving Nashville and she's gonna head to Colorado, which is where she grew up. She's heading to her hometown, because she wants to go back to kind of memorialize her mother, who unfortunately went missing, I believe over 15 years ago. I cannot remember the exact number. Maybe 14 is kind of shouting at me right now. She wants to go back to her hometown after she had a terrible breakup with a singer. Obviously don't want to get into too many details about it, but yes. So she leaves after all of this happens, and she wants to do something positive, and she ends up renting like a room on like Airbnb. And you know, it's like a little off the side, like a garage type place, and she rents it out for, you know, for a month, just so she can complete this hiking trip and possibly move back, just because of everything that's happening. So when she finds out that she actually rented unknowingly by his father from like a 15-16-year-old boy, and at the first night, like the dad finds out like he rented out the room, like to just, she's like, because he knows that the father was struggling, so he wanted to help, and he thought he was going to be able to get away with it, but unfortunately he does not. And now the father, his name is Tobias, he's like a park ranger, and the son is called Amos. This happens, they end up agreeing that they're gonna double the payment and she can stay there for the month, but after that she has to leave. There's no way around it. And then, you know, after a series of events, like she ends up becoming closer to not only Amos, who is a trip, he was a fun character, and Tobias, who's just an older man and just a sweetheart, just rough around the edges, and just it was great. And she also reconnects with a childhood friend that she had there when she was living there in Colorado. So it was just great relationships, honestly, all around. So I really enjoyed the book. I gave this a 5-star. This was a slow burn romance, small town feels, older man. Like it was a good book. I really love slow burn, so this one is definitely a good example of what a slow burn romance should be. So highly recommend it. 5 stars. I really had a lot of 5 stars this month, so I'm very happy about what I've read this month. So yes, so that was the 3rd book. And then we kind of took a bit of a dive after this. I read Flower Heart by Catherine Bakewell, and yeah, this one was something. I think I gave this like a 3 stars maybe. Not that great. For me personally, I did not enjoy it. I did not enjoy the pacing. So let's start from the beginning. Let me tell you what it's about. So we are following Clara, who lives with her father, and her mother apparently has, at this point, I guess, disappeared. So she kind of thinks that maybe she's dead or something. So mother's out of the picture, and it turns out she has like magic, but her magic is very wild. It's very unpredictable. So they're very wary of what her magic entails. And then one day she gets visited by like the Magic Society. And you know, they say you need to get your magic under control. If not, we are going to be forced to strip your magic away, because it can cause damage and chaos. And obviously they want to prevent that, it being like a magic council type of group. So after the council decides that her magic is more than likely going to need to be binded, she pretty much acts out. And her dad is just there, just like trying to comfort her, and she gets angry, and when she does that, she kind of lashes out that angry wild magic at her father, unfortunately, which causes him to like bloom these rare deadly flowers from his like chest. So after that, they're like, okay, you need to stay away from him and maybe that will get better. So she goes on like a journey with her friend Xavier Morwin or something, and he's also part of the council. And then we learn that he said he will help her, but in order to help her, he needs her magic. He wants her to transfer her magic over to Xavier. So after that, they kind of like start working together, like trying to see if she can rein in her magic so she can help her father first. And then if they can succeed doing that, then obviously she can transfer her magic over. So yeah, everything just happens like so quick. And you know, there's also an element of mystery with the mother. There's also an element of like a weird drug that makes people hallucinate in like euphoria, but also like makes them like kind of lose their mind. So, you know, there's that element as well, trying to figure out a solution for that, trying to find a solution for her father. So it's a lot of things happening, but everything is happening so quick. So I just didn't enjoy it as much as I thought, which is a shame because the cover is just so beautiful. So I don't know if I'm gonna keep the book. Probably gonna unhaul it. So yeah, that one was something. And I mean, I don't know what else much to say about it. It was just not my cup of tea. Hopefully it will be someone else's. If it is, please let me know what you enjoyed about the book, but I unfortunately could not find anything that I liked much about the book. And that's why I gave it a 3-star. I wanted to kind of stay kind of in the middle because I just wasn't sure how to really feel about it. You know, there were some things that I liked, you know, her having this wild magic, and you know, I thought there was going to be more to it. I think I was led to believe, maybe in my own mind, that maybe she was going to do something amazing and big and just captivating, but it just didn't. So yeah, I was kind of disappointed in that part, but it is what it is. I'm glad I read it. I'm glad I got it off my TBR as well, so that was great. Another book that I read, the 5th book, sorry, and this one is called Sweet Filthy Boy by Christina Lauren. Okay, this is probably my 3rd book, I want to say, by Christina Lauren, and I thoroughly enjoyed this. This was not only wildly insane, but it was just really good. A 5-star. So this follows Mia. After graduating, her and her friends go to Vegas, and they're gonna spend a couple days there, like a weekend, and then come back, and then she has to go off to like to be a lawyer because that's what her dad wants her to do. But she's so unsure because she doesn't know if that's what she wants as her career path. So she goes all out and she has fun, and then while at like a bar or club or something, she catches the eye of Ansel, and he's like a French, so she, in the audiobook, he has like this accent, and it's just amazing. So I love the audiobook for sure. So they all kind of like hook up, like Mia goes with Ansel, and then her friends go with the other friends, and they all have a marvelous time. They wake up, and it turns out that she and Ansel have gotten married. They have yeah, they did a quick marriage, and then she's freaking out after waking up and finding all of this out, and she tries to find him, and she sees him, you know, downstairs eating with his friends, because he leaves her a nice little cute note, and he says that, well, you left me a letter and you told me that no matter what you say, we're not getting divorced. So they decide they're gonna stay married for the summer, And apparently he has invited her to go stay with him in France for the summer, and after the summer that she can go ahead and they can get an annulment. Well, after having like a confrontation with her father, you know, after this wedding debacle, she decides, fine, I'm gonna go ahead and go to France with you. I don't know you, but I'm gonna go with you. I was like, oh my gosh, would that ever happen in real life? Probably not, but it was great reading about it. It was amazing. And Ansel is just so cute. I just loved everything about him. He was endearing, to say the least. So while she's there in France, obviously she learns everything about his life and, you know, what he does. He's an attorney in France. And yeah, but she slowly uncovers that maybe he's keeping maybe a little secret from her. So we learned that. But other than that, I really enjoyed this book. It was really good. I would recommend this book for sure. It was such a good time. I know I say that a lot, but it definitely is. And I've seen many people, well, like the book tubers or bookstagrams that I follow, really like this. So I went ahead and did it. I was gonna buy the physical book first, but then I was like, the audiobook came in, so I was like, well, let me just make sure, because I'm on a book buying ban. So I was like, well, let me read it. If I do enjoy it, then maybe I can add it. And I can definitely say I do enjoy this book a lot. So definitely once I have maybe cleared a bunch of my TBR books, then yeah, I can maybe go ahead and buy this one. This will definitely be on the list. I really enjoyed this one. A little silly at times, but I don't care. I really liked it, so I recommend it. The sixth book that I read was Powerless by Lauren Roberts. I believe I gave this a 5-star. I really enjoyed it. This had elements, it really reminded me of The Hunger Games because it has like trials that they're going through. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Really liked it. I'm definitely excited to read the second book. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So this follows a girl named Peyton Gray. She's an ordinary. She says she's a psychic so she can blend in with the elites, and the elites are the people who have powers, and the ordinaries are people without any powers, and apparently they're seen more as like second class, no class really, and they're trying to get rid of the ordinaries pretty much because they only want to keep the elites, the people with power. Which is funny because this only came about maybe you know, a couple decades ago. I believe like 50 years ago or something is when powers started to present themselves after something called the plague happened. So now the people with power, obviously, they want to remain in power and get rid of people who have none. So we also follow the point of view of Kai, and he is the Prince of Elia. Well, one of the princes of Elias, because he also has a brother named Kit, who's actually going to be the successor to, you know, their father. They do have different mothers, but the same father. When Peyton is out and about doing her thing, she's like a pickpocketer, and she sees that someone is being bullied. So after she helps them, she gets selected as one of the participants of the purging trials, which is, like I said, like kind of like the Hunger Games. And it's like 3 separate trials that they have to go through. But in the meantime, while they prepare, they have to go to like a ball. They have to get like wardrobe made for this and kind of practice there at the prince's home to get ready for this. So while there, she gets to know Kit and she gets to know Kai, and she forms a relationship with both of them. But you know, there are some twists and there are some turns, and we get spun around a little bit. all kind of predictable things, but honestly, that's what makes it awesome. I know there's a lot of hype about the book, but honestly, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great time despite the predictability, and I thoroughly enjoyed the writing style. It was great. But anyways, yes, it left off with such a good plot twist and such a good reveal at the end. There is some heartbreak in there as well, so be prepared for that. And I really enjoyed it, and I recommend it thoroughly. Like, really, really good. Okay, the next book that I read is Book Lovers by Emily Henry. This is actually a special edition from Illumicrate. Okay, so with this story, also, this is, I think, my second Emily Henry book, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a 5-star read, so it was a cute romance. So we're going to start off with Nora, who was just dumped on the phone on the way to a meeting. We just know that she got left by her boyfriend on the way to meet with Charlie Lastra. Hopefully I'm saying that right. And he is an executive editor, and she is like an agent, like a book agent. And she's been working with like an author for a really long time. They meet up at this lunch. This is how the book starts. And it just does not go great. Like, he's snippy, she's snippy. Obviously, they're both going through something. We just obviously don't get his side until very much later. But yeah, lunch, terrible. So then we go fast forward to 2 years later. And her and her sister decide to go to a small town, which is based on a town from the book that she is friends with, like the author that made this book. And so she references this small town. So she goes there and spends, I want to say about like three to 4 weeks there. But her sister's like really pregnant. So it's funny, like, they're gonna go for a month when she's like really pregnant, but to each their own, of course. So whatever, they go to the small town, they spend their time there, and then come to find out that Charlie is there. And yeah, it's not really an enemies to lovers type of book. Like, I definitely did not get that. They just got off on the wrong foot when they first like had that lunch meeting. So I wouldn't necessarily say enemies to lovers. I just think some misunderstanding, things like that. But other than that, yeah, wouldn't call it that. So when she's there, she keeps running into Charlie. Come to find out, he's actually from that small town. So he kind of gets to show her around, and you get to find out more of his backstory. You find out about her and like the tough life that she has had, Nora and her sister, and the weight that she carries with her after her mother passed away, and the how do you say it, like an overbearing feeling of having to take care of her younger sister, even though she's married, she has children, another one on the way. Like, she just feels so indebted to try to take care of her and be like kind of like a second mom to her. So I love their relationship, like Nora and her younger sister. I think her name's Libby. And yeah, they just have a cute relationship. I love how they, there was some miscommunication between them at one point, and like, one thinking something of the other. I love their relationship despite their miscommunication, even though they're like sisters and they're in the same hotel room. But it was a fun time. I love how they resolved their issues with each other. I love the ending, the wrap up. I never got a sense of miscommunication between Nora and Charlie, which is always a big thing for me. Like, I hate the miscommunication trope and, oh, I should have told you this, but I'll just keep it to myself for months. So I'm glad this one did not have that at all, just between the siblings a little bit. So that was kind of funny, but either way, thoroughly enjoyed it. I am excited to read more of Emily Henry's books. Gave this a 5-star, and yeah, it was a cute little romance book, and Charlie was just such a likable guy and character in this book, so thoroughly enjoyed his character. And yeah, on to the next one. So this is actually funny. So I want to say this is the 8th book. The 8th book that I read. This was actually part of a book club with my tattoo artist. So this month's pick of March was called Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. And if you've never read an H.D. Carlton, her most, I guess, talked about series is the Cat and Mouse Duet. And wow, that one was something. It is a dark romance. This one definitely follows that theme as well. Not as intense as the Cat and Mouse Duet, but definitely dark. It's dark. I gave this like a 3.5. There were some silly parts in here that I was like, what is happening? Is this real? Like, I know it's not real, but like am I reading what I'm actually reading type of thing? So be wary if you ever read anything by H.D. Carlton. So far, the books that I've read from her are dark, and this one was no exception. It starts off with Sawyer. We meet Sawyer. She's running away. She's booking a ticket to Australia. And we honestly don't know what she's running away from because she kind of keeps her thoughts to herself, obviously, as we're following her. But as we continue going through the story, at first it seemed like it was one thing, like maybe she was being like sex trafficked and she was like kind of running away, or maybe like a bad relationship, like a domestic type issue. But no, she was actually just stealing people's identities. So yeah, so after she moves to Australia, she goes to a bar and she actually meets a shark researcher, and his name is Enzo, and she has a one-night thing with him, and she says she feels so guilty, but she ends up stealing his identity. And after that, he spends like the next couple of weeks, like he doesn't report it, he spends the next like 3 weeks like looking for her and wanting to make her pay. So he treats her like terrible, and he says the meanest things to her. They end up, after trying to coerce her, saying that trying to play it off that he doesn't know anything, and then as they are doing things and getting intimate, he finally reveals to her that, hey, I know what you did. You stole my identity. You opened up a card under my name. Whatever. They have this confrontation. They're on the boat, and a storm comes out of nowhere and kind of capsizes the boat that they're on, and they end up on like a little island with a lighthouse on it. So they end up staying there, and they find that there's a lighthouse keeper who's actually there, and we find that he's all alone, and he has like a wooden peg leg. That was something. And then as they're there, like, he is creepy as heck. He locks them up like after dinner time, and they start hearing like chains like rattling. So they ask the next day, like, what is happening here? We keep hearing strange noises. And he's like, don't worry about it, it's ghost. We've had like boats previously over the past 30 plus years that I've been living here, that people have died on this island, like old inmates or whatever that were being like transferred, I guess, and that they passed away there. So that's why you hear those strange noises, and it's like creepy. So while they're trying to find what's called the beacon in the lighthouse so they can radio for help, because he said, well, we only get supplies here at least once a month, because obviously he has to eat and live, so he gets supplies like once a month. They're starting to find this guy like really creepy, does creepy things, says creepy things. So now they're kind of having to fight their way to get out of here and escape, because he's just trying to now keep Sawyer reveals of what is happening with these change. So it is very intense. It is heartbreaking towards the ending. So yeah. And then the 9th book that I read this month, The Warm Hands of Ghosts by Catherine Arden. I do not have the physical book, but I do listen to the audiobook. So I'll put the cover here, but it was such a beautiful, well-written story. It was like based in the early like 1916 to 18, I want to say. It was just so different from things that I've read before, but I liked the creepiness type element from it to the beginning. So we're following Laura Ivan, and she, we start with her. She's trying to find her brother because he went to war, but when they gave her like the box of things that you're supposed to receive back, as part of, if a soldier does pass away, you're supposed to receive these dog tags, but one is supposed to stay like with the body. And that doesn't happen. So she's like, well, why do I have this? Something is weird. And the only thing that they could give her, was this, or no real explanation of why he was dead. So we're following Laura, who tries to go with Mary, who is like an older nurse, and then Pim. And they're like, we will join you on this adventure, but you do have to help us in this hospital for a time. And then I'll let you go and find out what happened to your brother. So she agrees. So they all go. While there's a war going on, if I didn't mention that, like it's coming to the end of World War I. She just wants to find out what's happening. So that's her point of view. That's the timeline that we're following, but we're also following a second timeline, which is actually her brother Freddie, Ivan, and we're following to right before the story starts. So like a year or so before, and we follow him in the army, going through these things, and then seeing what he's seeing, during the war. And then when he eventually, Laura gets the news about him missing, we find out that he actually like fell in like this cave-like thing, him and a German soldier. So they're supposed to be enemies, but somehow they become friends, they pull through. And then we have like a very creepy, ghosty vibes element also happening as well. There's like this violin player who owns a hotel, and you only see him on certain occasions, and his name's Falland, something like that. They both actually, the sister and the brother, actually come upon this hotel, but sometimes it will come up as like a restaurant, or it comes up as different things. But all in all, he wants to keep you there by getting your life stories and then showing you what you think you want to see. So it has this creepy little ghosty vibes. So I really enjoyed that. I love a nice little creepy ghosty vibe. So that was nice. And we also get the sense that Laura has maybe like a sixth sense. Like I think she can kind of pick up on some ghosts. So that was an interesting thing as well, that we learn about her, some sort of an ability with being able to see ghosts. But either way, it wasn't really a romance book. It was more, just trying to find her family. When the story starts, like her mother and father have already passed away tragically. But unfortunately, Freddie doesn't know that. But, as she's trying to uncover the truth, trying to find him, the brother and this German soldier, I want to say Hans, I believe, they have a beautiful, warm relationship that they kind of, enemies, they still find commonalities, obviously wanting to live and wanting to get out of this place. So it was just beautiful being able to see them, and just like the journey that both of them go through, like Laura having to work in this hospital, what she has to endure and what she has to see, and then what Freddie has to see being in war. It was such a beautiful story, just seeing their journeys and how it kind of concludes itself in the end. There wasn't any like plot twisty things or anything like that. It just wrapped up really well. I recommend this book. 5-star read. Beautiful. If you are into maybe like a historical fiction, there wasn't a lot of romance per se. There was hints of it, but the hints that you get and the little, moments that you receive from both characters, in their own way of their romances, it was minimal, but the minimal moments were beautiful, and I enjoyed it, so I recommend. Yes. And lastly but not least, my 10th book of the month, you'll probably hear my dog barking, sorry, is The Crimson Moth, or also called Heartless Hunter, by Kristen Ciccarelli. Guys, this was so good. So good. 5 out of 5. Definitely recommend this fantasy romance book. It was so good. I loved everything about it. Okay, so quick synopsis, I guess. Any witches that are found are going to be executed, hanged, what have you. So we're following Rune, who is a witch but is very smart about keeping it a secret. She's amazing. She's such an amazing character. And then we have Gideon Sharp, who is the witch hunter. So he's one of like the top commanders of being a witch hunter. So he has like some orderlies under him, a team pretty much. But he also has a younger brother called Alex Sharp, and he's actually is best friends with Rune. But Alex knows about Rune. Like, he is just one of those friends that are secretly in love with his friend, and he has been for the entire time, and he loves her no matter what, and he'll do anything for her, and it's so beautiful. And Alex was so amazing. But then we also have Gideon, who is, rough around the edges. He's had and gone through some terrible things, being held captive by one of the witch queens, as we find out. It's presumed that this queen that captured him, is dead, because there's 3 witch sisters. So very enemies to lovers type of book. It was good. I don't know. I really enjoyed the relationship, not only between Rune and Alex, but Rune and Gideon. And then she also has, a friend that she's had for like only 2 years. But either way, like, just the dynamics of all them, helping. She's just trying to help witches, any capture witches. She wants to help and she wants to save them, but Alex is like, I don't want this life for you anymore. Like, let's go to another city, like to the capital, where they don't care about you being a witch. You can be an openly well celebrated like a witch and not have to worry about being hunted down just because, Alex's brother Gideon has this vendetta against witches, and he just wants to bring them all down because of, something awful that's happened to him personally. So and then Rune, she's like, she plays high society, and she plays like, she's just all about the gossip and the fashion and what's the latest thing happening, and let's go out to all the parties. But she's playing like a well-rounded game. It's so amazing to read about her character. She's just so good, and I love it. She was awesome. But the plot twists towards the ending were great, and I cannot wait. I know she's coming out with her 2nd book this year, and I'm here for it. I can't wait to read it, and I'm so excited. Definitely recommend. This is a 5-star read for me, and I can't wait to see what else she writes, honestly. Anyways, this video has probably gone on for way too long, but yes, those are the 10 books that I read. A lot of 5 stars. 1 not so good, or 2 but anyways, all in all, it was a good reading month, and I hope to do that for April. So with that being said, that is all for me. I am working on my mini books video, so hopefully I will get to do that this week. Hopefully. It's been a busy time, but thank you so much for watching this video. Please like, please subscribe, please comment down below. Let me know what you've read this month, and I will see you on my next video. Bye.